I was living what I thought was the perfect life. 20 years of marriage to Amanda, a beautiful home in Seattle, and our 17-year-old daughter Sophia, who made us proud every day. My software engineering career provided everything we needed. Then one evening, Amanda casually announced she was going to stay with her ex-boyfriend Jason for 30 days to help him heal from his divorce. I was stunned, speechless. But what broke me was when Sophia sided with her mother against me. Before I tell you how my world collapsed around me, let me know where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to see how I turned this betrayal into my greatest comeback. I met Amanda in college during our sophomore year. She was dating Jason back then, but after a few months of friendship, she chose me instead. I still remember the look on his face when she told him it was over. A mixture of shock, anger, and heartbreak. I felt bad for the guy, but I was too happy to care much. We got married a year after graduation and settled into our life in Seattle. For 20 years, I dedicated myself to providing the best life possible for my family. I worked hard at my job, climbing the corporate ladder at a software company, while Amanda pursued her passion for interior design. We had our daughter Sophia when we were both 25, and watching her grow into a smart, confident young woman became our greatest joy. Sophia and I had always been close. We shared a love for hiking the beautiful trails around Washington state, and had our special daddy-daughter movie nights every other Sunday. She was my little girl, even as she grew into her teenage years, and developed her own interests and opinions. Looking back now, I can see the warning signs I ignored. Amanda had become more distant over the past year. She started taking more weekend trips alone to clear her head, spent more time on her phone, and was less interested in our intimate life. When I tried to talk to her about it, she dismissed my concerns, saying she was just busy with work and dealing with some personal stress. I believed her because I trusted her completely. That was my first mistake. The night everything changed. Started like any other Tuesday. I came home from work, and Amanda had prepared dinner. Sophia was texting at the table, barely acknowledging my arrival, which was pretty normal teenage behavior. We sat down to eat, and between bites of lasagna, Amanda dropped the bomb that would detonate our entire life. Leif, I wanted to let you know that Jason is going through a really hard time. His wife left him last month and he's not handling it well. I nodded sympathetically, not thinking much of it. Amanda had maintained a distant friendship with Jason over the years, which I had never objected to. I believed in being mature about past relationships. That's too bad, I said. Is he getting professional help? Well, that's the thing, she continued, taking a sip of water as if what she was about to say was completely normal. He needs more support right now, and I've decided I'm going to stay with him for about 30 days to help him through this rough patch. I nearly choked on my food. You're going to what? Stay with Jason for a month. He's all alone in that big house now, and he's not eating or taking care of himself properly. I'm worried he might do something drastic if someone doesn't intervene. I looked at her incredulously, waiting for the punchline. There wasn't one. She was completely serious. Amanda, that's not appropriate. You can support him as a friend without moving into his house. Why can't his family help? Or other friends? His parents live in Florida, and they're too old to travel. His friends have tried, but he responds better to me. We have history, and he trusts me. I tried to stay calm and rational. What about referring him to a therapist, or suggesting group therapy for divorcees? There are many ways to help someone without moving in with them. Amanda's expression hardened. I knew you would react like this. This is why I hesitated to tell you. You're being controlling and jealous over me simply helping an old friend. Controlling, I'm your husband, and you're telling me you want to move in with your ex-boyfriend for a month. How am I supposed to react? At this point, Sophia put down her phone and joined the conversation. Dad, why are you making such a big deal out of this? Mom is just trying to help someone who's suffering. I looked at my daughter in disbelief. Sophia, this is between your mother and me. No, it affects all of us, she insisted. If Mom wants to help Jason, she should be able to, without you freaking out about it. I was stunned. When had my daughter started taking her mother's side against me on something so obviously inappropriate? Had Amanda been talking to her about this already? That night I slept alone in our bedroom, while Amanda packed a suitcase in the appropriate guest room. I tossed and turned, trying to understand what was happening to my family. Little did I know, this was only the beginning of the betrayal. The morning Amanda left was surreal. She was almost giddy as she packed her things, humming to herself as she folded clothes and gathered toiletries. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom watching her, trying to process what was happening. "How often will you be checking in?" I asked. "And what about boundaries with Jason? Have you discussed those, Leaf? Please stop interrogating me." She sighed, not even looking up from her suitcase. "I'll call when I can, but I need to focus on helping Jason." "Do you understand how this looks?" I pressed. "You're leaving your husband and daughter to go live with an ex-boyfriend. I'm not leaving you. I'm helping a friend for a few weeks." "Why is that so hard for you to understand?" Her tone was dismissive, like I was being completely unreasonable. When it was time for her to go, she gave me a quick cold peck on the cheek. No passionate embrace, no reassurance that our marriage was solid. Just a casual goodbye, as if she were leaving for a day at the office, not moving in with another man for a month. "I'll call tonight," she said, wheeling her suitcase to the door. Sophia gave her mother a long hug and whispered something in her ear that made them both smile. Then she turned to me, with an icy stare I didn't recognize. "Try not to be so selfish while Mom's gone, Dad." Her words stung like a slap. Where had my sweet daughter gone? When had she turned against me? The door closed behind Amanda, and the house suddenly felt empty and cold. The first week was the hardest. Amanda barely communicated. A few brief texts saying everything was fine and Jason was starting to eat properly again. No phone calls, no detailed updates. When I tried calling her, she often didn't pick up, and when she did, the conversations were short and strained. My suspicions began to grow when I was cleaning our bedroom and found a small box of old photographs hidden in the back of Amanda's drawer. They were pictures of her and Jason from college, including several intimate shots I'd never seen before. Why had she kept these hidden all these years? And why had she been looking at them recently enough to leave them in an accessible drawer rather than in deep storage? Things got worse when I accidentally discovered deleted text messages on our shared iPad. Amanda had forgotten to sign out of her account, and though many conversations were deleted, the preview snippets visible in the notification history told a disturbing story. There were messages going back months before Jason's supposed crisis. Flirtatious exchanges, inside jokes, and cryptic plans. Not the kind of texts you'd send to a casual old friend. I reached out to our mutual friend Brian, who knew Jason through a golf club membership. "How's Jason doing with his divorce?" I asked casually when we met for coffee. Amanda mentioned he was having a really tough time. Brian looked confused. "Jason. He seemed fine last time I saw him at the club 2 weeks ago. Said the divorce was actually his idea, and he's been dating already. Why?" My stomach dropped. No reason, I mumbled, but inside I felt like I was going to be sick. The more I dug, the more inconsistencies I found. Jason's mental health crisis seemed greatly exaggerated, if not completely fabricated. I discovered credit card statements showing Amanda had purchased expensive gifts in the weeks leading up to her departure. Gifts that never appeared in our home. After 2 agonizing weeks of mounting evidence, I made a decision I never thought I'd have to make. I hired a private investigator, Paul Mendez, a retired police detective recommended by a colleague. "I need to know what's really going on," I told him, feeling a mix of shame and determination. 3 days later, Paul sent me the first photos. Amanda and Jason having dinner at an upscale restaurant, holding hands across the table. Another set showed them walking through a park, his arm around her waist, stopping to kiss under a tree. These weren't the actions of a caretaker and patient. This was a couple in love. The final straw came when I discovered a joint bank account Amanda had opened with Jason 6 months earlier. She had been transferring small amounts from our savings. Nothing large enough to raise immediate red flags, but over time, it added up to nearly $20,000. I decided to confront them directly. Without warning, I drove to Jason's suburban home one evening. His porch light was on, and both their cars were in the driveway. I rang the doorbell, heart pounding in my chest. Jason answered, his expression changing from neutral to alarmed when he saw me. He was wearing lounge pants and no shirt, completely at ease in his home with my wife. "Leif, this isn't a good time." He started, trying to block the doorway. "I need to speak with my wife." I insisted, my voice steadier than I felt. From inside, I heard Amanda call out, "Who is it, honey?" Honey. That single word confirmed everything. I pushed past Jason and found Amanda in the living room, wearing one of his shirts and nothing else. The scene was so blatant, so undeniable, that for a moment we all just froze. "Leif," she gasped. "What are you doing here?" "I think the better question is, what are you doing here, Amanda?" This doesn't look like caregiving to me. Instead of guilt or shame, anger flashed across her face. Were you spying on me? How dare you invade my privacy like this? Your privacy. You're my wife. You told me you were helping a friend through a crisis, not shacking up with your ex. Before she could respond, the front door opened again, and to my horror, Sophia walked in. She took in the scene, her mother half-dressed Jason shirtless, me standing there in obvious distress. "Mom, what's going on?" she asked, though her lack of shock told me she knew more than she had let on. Amanda quickly went to Sophia. "Your father is overreacting as usual. He showed up unannounced and is making a scene." Sophia turned to me, her eyes cold. "Dad, why can't you just leave Mom alone? You're ruining everything, like always." "Like always, Sophia, your mother is having an affair. She lied to both of us." Jason stepped forward. "I think you should leave Leif. This situation is complicated, and you're upsetting everyone." I looked at my daughter standing there next to the man my wife was cheating on me with, both of them acting like I was the problem. Something broke inside me at that moment. "Sophia, are you coming home with me?" I asked already, knowing the answer. "I'm staying with Mom tonight. We planned it earlier today." I left that house feeling like I was in some bizarre nightmare. My wife and daughter had both betrayed me, and somehow I was being cast as the villain. The drive home was a blur of tears and anger. I had never felt so alone. The final report from Paul, the private investigator, was more devastating than I could have imagined. Not only had Amanda been seeing Jason for months, but there was evidence suggesting she had actively encouraged him to end his marriage. Text messages Paul had obtained showed Amanda telling Jason they deserved to be together and making plans for their future, all while she was still living with me, sleeping in our bed, and pretending to be a devoted wife. The most shocking revelation was about Jason's supposed mental health crisis. It was entirely fabricated. His divorce had been amicable, and far from being devastated, he had been the one who initiated it, likely to be available for Amanda. The whole story had been created to give Amanda a plausible reason to move in with him without raising too many suspicions. I also discovered that the joint account they had opened was just the tip of the iceberg. Amanda had been consulting with a real estate agent about selling our house, without my knowledge or consent. She had been looking at properties closer to Jason's neighborhood and had discussed moving Sophia to a new school for her senior year. The betrayal cut deeper when I found out Sophia had known about the affair for at least 3 months. Amanda had confided in our daughter, painting me as controlling and emotionally unavailable to justify her infidelity. She had skillfully turned my own child against me, using her as an ally in her deception. When I learned all this, I broke down completely. I sat alone in our living room, surrounded by family photos that now seemed like cruel jokes, and I wept. 20 years of marriage thrown away for an old flame. My daughter manipulated into betraying her father. My entire life, a carefully constructed lie. My friend Thomas found me there when he came to check on me after I missed our weekly racquetball game. He took one look at me and knew something was terribly wrong. "Jesus, Leif, what happened?" he asked, sitting beside me on the couch. I told him everything. The fake story about helping Jason, the affair, Sophia's betrayal, all of it. Thomas listened without interrupting, his face growing darker with each revelation. "This is beyond messed up," he said when I finished. "But you know what? You need to stop being a victim right now. It's time to protect yourself." Thomas was right. In that moment, I decided I would no longer be the passive recipient of Amanda's betrayal. I would take control of the situation and protect myself, my assets, and what remained of my dignity. The next morning, I called Jennifer Torres, one of the top divorce attorneys in Seattle. Her reputation for being fair but fierce was exactly what I needed. She agreed to see me that afternoon. "Mr. Cactor, Erickson, what you're describing is a clear case of marital abandonment and infidelity," Jennifer said, after hearing my story. "Washington is a no-fault divorce state, but these factors can still influence property division and potentially custody arrangements, especially given your daughter's age." For the next 2 hours, Jennifer and I mapped out a strategic plan. I would need to secure financial assets, gather evidence of the affair and abandonment, document all marital property, and prepare for various scenarios depending on how Amanda responded. I spent the following days executing this plan methodically. I moved half of our joint savings into a new personal account, legally permissible according to Jennifer. I changed the passwords on our investment accounts and credit cards. I took video inventory of all valuable items in the house in case Amanda tried to remove them. I compiled all the evidence from Paul into a detailed dossier, along with a timeline of events. While I was in the middle of this process, Amanda called. It had been nearly 3 weeks since she left, and her voice was casual, almost cheerful. "Leaf, I need to talk to you about something," she said. "Jason and I have been discussing things, and I've decided to extend my stay indefinitely. I think it would be best if Sophia moved in with us as well. It would give you some space, and honestly, I think we need to be realistic about our future." "What future is that, Amanda?" I asked, my voice eerily calm. "Well, Jason and I have reconnected in a way I didn't expect. I think we both know our marriage hasn't been working for a while. No apology, no acknowledgement of her betrayal. Just a casual dismissal of 20 years together." "I see," I replied. "And Sophia agrees with this plan. She's excited about it, actually. She and Jason get along really well, and there's a great school near his place for her senior year." "I understand. I'll need some time to process this. Can we talk again tomorrow?" She seemed surprised by my calm response, but agreed readily. When I hung up, I called Jennifer immediately. It was time to implement phase 2 of our plan. The next evening, Amanda and Jason were enjoying a romantic dinner at Canlis, one of Seattle's most exclusive restaurants. I know this because I had Paul track their movements so I could time everything perfectly. While they were savoring their expensive meal, paid for with our joint credit card, I might add, a courier delivered divorce papers to their table. The documents detailed Amanda's infidelity, abandonment, and financial misconduct. They also included my petition for full ownership of our family home on grounds of abandonment and a detailed accounting of the funds Amanda had diverted to Jason. I wish I could have seen their faces when those papers landed on their table, but Paul described it as complete shock, followed by total panic. Apparently they left their $300 dinner half-eaten. Meanwhile, I had changed the locks and security codes at our house. I had the systems upgraded to include cameras at all entrances. I packed Amanda's essential personal items into boxes and had them delivered to Jason's house with a note from my attorney stating she could arrange to collect the rest of her belongings under supervised conditions. Then I sent Amanda a text message that I had carefully crafted with Jennifer's help. "Amanda, by now you've received the divorce papers. I know about the affair that began months before Jason's divorce. I know about the $20,000 you transferred to your joint account. I know you and Jason were making plans to sell our house without my knowledge. I know you manipulated our daughter into supporting your infidelity by lying about me. All of this has been documented and submitted to the court. Do not attempt to enter the house without arranging it through my attorney. This is not a negotiation." The response was immediate and frantic. First came anger. How dare I embarrass her in public with a process server? Then came denial. The affair wasn't what I thought. She was really trying to help Jason. Finally came bargaining. "We could work this out. We shouldn't throw away 20 years over a mistake. She would come home right away, and we could talk." I didn't respond to any of these messages. Jennifer had advised me to minimize direct communication now that legal proceedings had begun, and I was following her advice to the letter. Later that night, Sophia called, furious at first. "Dad, what did you do? Mom is crying, and Jason is freaking out. I filed for divorce, Sophia. Your mother has been having an affair with Jason for months. She manipulated both of us and was planning to leave me anyway. I'm just expediting the process." "You don't understand," she started. "No, Sophia, you don't understand. Your mother lied to you too. She wasn't helping Jason through a mental health crisis. He's the one who initiated his divorce, and they were planning to sell our house without telling me. They opened a joint bank account 6 months ago. This wasn't a spontaneous decision to help a friend." There was a long silence on the other end. "How do you know all that?" she finally asked, her voice smaller. "I hired a private investigator after I found evidence she was lying. I have photos, text messages, bank statements, all of it. I'm sorry you got caught in the middle of this, Sophia. Your mother never should have involved you in her deception." Another long pause. "I need some time to think," she said. "I understand. You're welcome to come home anytime. Just know that your mother will not be living here anymore." The next few days were a whirlwind. Amanda made several attempts to contact me, alternating between apologies, accusations, and pleas for reconciliation. I maintained radio silence, communicating only through Jennifer when absolutely necessary. The most revealing development came when Jason realized the financial implications of the divorce proceedings. With his money potentially tied up in legal battles, and the possibility of being named in the divorce as a co-conspirator in financial fraud, he started to pull away from Amanda. According to Paul, who was still keeping an eye on the situation, their relationship became strained almost immediately when faced with real-world consequences. 4 days after receiving the divorce papers, Amanda showed up at the house, crying and begging to come inside. I spoke to her through the security camera. "Please, Leaf, I made a terrible mistake. I want to come home. I love you. Jason and I are over. Amanda, any communication needs to go through Jennifer Torres. I've said all I need to say to you. You can't just throw away 20 years. I didn't throw anything away, Amanda. You did that when you started your affair, stole from our savings, and turned our daughter against me. Please leave before I call the police to report you for trespassing." The hardest part was dealing with Sophia. She had been so thoroughly manipulated by her mother that untangling the truth took time and patience. A week after I filed for divorce, she asked to come home. We sat in the living room, the tension palpable between us. "Mom told me you were controlling and emotionally abusive," she said quietly. "She said you never really loved her the way Jason did, and that you were holding her back from being happy. And you believed her without ever asking me or noticing any evidence of this alleged abuse in the 20 years we've been together." I asked, not accusingly, but genuinely wanting to understand. She was so convincing. She would cry and show me texts from you that she said proved how controlling you were, but now I realize she was only showing me parts of conversations, taking things out of context. "Sophia, I've never been perfect, but I have always loved your mother, and you, more than anything. I worked hard to provide a good life for us. I never tried to control her. I supported her interior design business, encouraged her friendships, and trusted her completely. That's why this betrayal hurts so deeply." Tears filled her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Dad. I should have seen through it. I feel so stupid." I moved to sit beside her and put my arm around her shoulders. "You're not stupid. You're 17, and she's your mother. You trusted her as you should be able to. She abused that trust, and that's on her, not you. Our reconciliation wasn't immediate or easy. There were more difficult conversations, moments of anger and hurt on both sides. I suggested therapy, both individual for Sophia and joint sessions for us. Slowly, we began to rebuild our relationship. Meanwhile, the divorce proceeded with surprising speed. With the overwhelming evidence of Amanda's infidelity and financial misconduct, her position was weak. Jason, showing his true character, backed away from their relationship when he realized Amanda wouldn't be bringing a substantial divorce settlement with her. She was suddenly alone, facing the consequences of her actions without her safety net. 6 months after that fateful dinner announcement, the divorce was finalized. I received the family home, the majority of our assets, and a court order for Amanda to repay the money she had diverted. She got her personal belongings, her car, and her business assets. It was a fair settlement given the circumstances, and I felt no joy in her downfall, only a sense of justice and closure. As for me, the experience transformed me in ways I never expected. The pain of betrayal forced me to reevaluate everything about my life. I started therapy to process the trauma and understand how I might have been blind to the signs of Amanda's dissatisfaction. I reconnected with old friends who had fallen by the wayside during my marriage. I rediscovered my passion for photography, something I had set aside years ago. I also began taking better care of myself physically. The stress of the divorce initially caused me to lose weight, but I channeled that into a constructive fitness routine. Running became my therapy, and I completed my first half marathon 8 months after filing for divorce. The physical transformation matched my emotional one. I was becoming stronger, more resilient. At work, I pursued opportunities I had previously declined because they would have taken time away from family. I accepted a promotion to Senior Development Director, which came with new challenges that kept my mind engaged and forward-focused. And yes, eventually I started dating again. Cautiously at first, with better boundaries and a clearer sense of what I wanted in a relationship. I met Laura through a photography club, and her straightforward honesty was like a breath of fresh air after years of hidden deception. We're taking things slowly, building a foundation of trust and communication. My relationship with Sophia has actually grown stronger through this ordeal. The painful truth created an opportunity for more authentic connection between us. She's now in college studying psychology with a particular interest in family dynamics. Inspired, she says, by her own experience of being manipulated and her desire to help others avoid similar situations. As for Amanda, I hear she's struggling. Jason left her completely when the money ran out, and her interior design business suffered from her extended absence and the local gossip about our divorce. I take no pleasure in her difficulties, but I no longer feel responsible for her happiness. That chapter of my life is closed. Looking back on this painful journey, I've learned that betrayal, as devastating as it is, can also be a powerful catalyst for growth. By refusing to remain a victim, by taking decisive action to protect myself and maintain my dignity, I created space for a new and better life to emerge. The most important lesson I've learned is that you teach people how to treat you by what you accept. For too long, I accepted small breaches of trust because I didn't want to rock the boat. I overlooked red flags because I was committed to making my marriage work. In doing so, I sent the message that my boundaries were flexible, my trust infinite, and my forgiveness guaranteed. Now I know better. True love doesn't ask you to compromise your self-respect. Real loyalty doesn't manipulate and deceive. Genuine partnerships are built on honesty, even when the truth is difficult. Today I'm grateful for the pain that pushed me toward authenticity. I'm thankful for the betrayal that freed me from a relationship that had become toxic. Sometimes the hardest endings lead to the most beautiful beginnings. So what do you think? Have you ever had to rebuild your life after betrayal? Would you have handled things differently in my situation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if my story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more real-life experiences. Remember, sometimes walking away is the strongest thing you can do. Thanks for listening, and may you have the courage to stand up for yourself when life tests your boundaries.